So the last cork ring on the rod, I use a burl cork ring because it's tougher and more durable.
So that's the very bottom cork ring.
Right.
Okay. And what's this rod going to be used for?
Bottom bouncing, some traditional bobber fishing, mainly a rod used for 6 and 8 pound leaders.
Now what blank is this?
This is a Sage 996. It's actually a warranty job that I'm doing right now. So we got that one on. So we want to do 4-inch fighting butt. So
is that 8 half-inch cork sections?
that's 8 half-inch cork rings. I'm reaming out the center of the cork ring to match the diameter of the blank. Test for fit. I'd rather have a hair too loose than a hair too tight. When it's too loose, it leaves room for epoxy. If it's too tight, not all the epoxy might not adhere it to the blank. We want to make sure there's some epoxy between the blank and the center of each cork ring. You just start stacking them up. Too tight, you take a little bit more out. I like to use a smaller rat file because it keeps my hole more centered on the cork ring, which makes shaping the handle and the drill press later better. Those are really nice cork rings, so I saved those for the foregrip. The good cork rings are about $1.15 a piece. We use 9 inches or 18 rings for the front grip, and on rods longer than 9 feet, we use 4 inches on the butt. So 1, 2, 3, I need 2 more. So about $30 when it's all said and done in cork rings. Just get them lined up. Now this last one, it's really important that we get center punched. Just for giggles, I'm going to use another burl ring for some decorative look. So there's our fighting butt. Move on to the reel seat. I got a Alps triangle seat here. Really like them. They lock up really solid. They'll hold any fly reel or spinning reel just fine. Just a beautiful reel seat. Under our reel seat we use masking tape. I do a high quality painter's tape. And all you do is build it up. It's important to wrap it on tight. You don't want it loose. I put my reel seats on down locking, just the way my rods balance best. So we measure, we need a little bit more here. If you get some wrinkles in your tape, that's just fine. Important thing is just to get it on there tight. So I'm just trying to get the right diameter tape on here. The reel seat comes with grooves in it to help adhere your epoxy to it, but we still want a snug fit. That there is about perfect. We always leave a little space between the cork and the tape too, because you'll have epoxy overrun that'll suck back in there. Take here, mark the end of our seat, take our seat off, and put our second arbor on. Not enough. Locks your seat in. The seat is loose, so you build up an arbor for the seat to lock on. so it doesn't rattle. Now this is down locking. You can see my reel would go in here and then I'm screwing down. Some folks like up locking. I like gravity. I like down locking, and it works for the balance of my rods. Nine-inch foregrip. We're going to look for a really nice, clean ring. That ring there has got some stuff on the edge, so we don't like that one. We're looking for a really clean ring to have as our first ring against our seat because it's going to get sanded down significantly. Got that one. One inch and 8 to go. And we just go through the long, boring process of sanding cork rings. Don't want them too tight. That's how they come loose. Pre-fab's junk, dude. They use cheap cork, and plus you get it the way you want it now.
Mm-hmm.
I like a cigar handle, you know. I don't like.
You don't like the contoured ones?
No. And I like a more handle than what they want to put on.
Yeah.
For balance. Sensitivity comes from balance a lot. Not just from the quality of the graphite. And fatigue, you know? Isn't this exciting to watch?
Riveting.
Wait till you see how I sand them. You'll laugh. We'll have to do that another day.
Can't see that today?
No. Ready for glue. Every rod has a spline, and you want to check your spline for reel seat alignment. Sage rods come with a dot on them, spline from the factory. And I still check them, but in this case the spline was right. So we got to make sure we line up our reel seat with our spline. This is our cork clamp. So the first thing we're going to do when we glue this handle together is just measure to make sure we got enough space. And we do.
Did you make that clamp?
I did not. You can make them, they're really easy, but they're cheap to buy, so. Put a little bumper on there so we don't lose our cork rings. And then we back all our cork rings off. Back our reel seat off. Drop our bottom cork right there. Back all this off. What I'm going to do is score my blank in a few areas. This just helps keep those bottom cork rings that are most important adhered to the blank. Set it there. I use 30-minute epoxy because you need some extra working time. We're going to take our cheap tape, build us a little working area on our table. I'm going to start with about 1/3 of a tube. Take an old brush, mix your epoxy together really good. And all we do is we start with a small bead right here. This comes forward. And we get a bead like that on our brush. We start at the base of the blank and spread it around, and any extra goes on the base. Move it down, give it a twist, and keep moving. Keep moving. It's important to judge how tight the cork ring is as to how much epoxy you use. I'd rather use a little bit too much than a little bit too little. The looser the cork ring, the more epoxy you're going to lay along the blank. Sometimes you got a little extra, just take her off. Set our bottom one. We're going to leave a little overhang there. That's important because when we clamp it together we want a little bit of space. What we left is a little bit of overhang down there, so when we clamp it all together we've got a nice tight space and it'll come together. We got the fighting butt glued together. Now what we're going to do is cover our reel seat. So we cover our masking tape arbor. We use a good high quality masking tape. We give it a thorough coat, and then we slide our seat down to match our spline. If we go slow and careful and clean up the excess when we get to our gaps, but before we come all the way down, we're just going to give it a little light wipe. We'll come back with some acetone later and get it all cleaned up. So then we're going to check our spine again and make sure that the center of our anchor is lined up with our spline of our rod. And it is. So we're going to go forward. Now we can inch these down. Throw a little bead right here for our anchor cork ring. That comes in, gets a good turn. Then I change positions. This epoxy takes a good 6 hours to set up, so if it thickens, no real worry. Got a little bit of a loose ring, so I'm laying a bead right along my blank. Give it a twist. Grab some more. So what we got now is our handle glued together. We're going to put it in the cork clamp. First thing we're going to do though, put a little piece of tape on the bottom so it doesn't stick to the bottom of our cork clamp. We're going to do our best to not get epoxy everywhere. Get it lined up. Clamp it down as tight as you can get it. So it's all oozing out of every cork ring, and that dries overnight. Probably not put that part on there, so I almost break the tip off on the chair behind me.